3:30 a.m. and a huge explosion can be heard going off from cell number 35 of Mangaung Correctional Center, based in Free State, South Africa. The inmates and wardens just hear boom! All of a sudden, the prison fills with chaos and confusion. It breaks out like a plague. Suddenly, the facility smells of petrol, smoke, and charred skin. Arson's the word, and prison officials are dispatched at 4 a.m. to extinguish the blaze. The deceased body of Thabo Bester is discovered, and he is unrecognizable from the burns. Now, if you're not South African, this may sound like the intro to a murder mystery, but boy, you have no idea. 4:26 a.m. and they eventually dispatch a nurse who confirms the blatantly obvious. Thabo Bester is no longer with us. But that story is not entirely true.
Just tell me, how would this petrol, let's assume it was petrol, have gotten into the cell? And where would the matches, the lighter, the whatever it is that sets the light come from?
Well, it's believed that the body that Dr. Nandipha Magudumana had claimed is the same body that was found dumped in this river here at Kopano Nokeng.
April 20th, 2022, and this woman, Dr. Magudumana, drops a deceased body into a river in Bloemfontein. 2 weeks earlier, she had claimed that this exact body was her deceased relative, her blood relative. She went in and she said it was her own father.
In this dam that one of the bodies allegedly stolen by Dr. Nandipha Magudumana was found floating, weeks after she allegedly claimed it at the mortuary as her father.
The sick part to me is that she was probably stone-faced when she was saying this. First time in the mirror when she recited the lie, second time at the mortuary where she actually managed to finesse them into getting the body. Someone's got to ask how that was done, but also the why it was done is important. Why would this well-educated woman throw away her life to commit crimes?
So I graduated with 3 degrees instead of, because the MBBCH is 2 degrees. So
nonetheless, this is the day that influencer Dr. Nandipha Magudumana failed at her first attempt at springing convicted murderer, conman, and rapist Thabo Bester.
That had been in prison for some of the most heinous crimes. He stalked women on Facebook, he murdered women, he was involved in some seriously violent crimes dating back to 2010, 2011.
I can't plead guilty to murdering her because I did not intentionally want to kill her. But I can plead guilty on the fact of bringing a knife into her presence. That I can plead guilty. And
so yes, for whatever reason, this married woman and mother of 2 decides to fall in love with a convicted felon. Was it money? Was it status? Or was it an extreme version of that phrase that a lot of women say, "I can change him" type attitude? Only she knows the answers. But what I do know is that hairdressers all over South Africa would be spreading the news, the gossip about Nandipha Magudumana and asking their clients and colleagues alike, why do you think she did it?
The allegation is that Dr. Nandipha actually managed to fraudulently claim 3 bodies from various mortuaries.
Correctional Services is standing by its statement that Thabo Bester burnt to death in his cell. This is despite reports a man with a striking resemblance to the Facebook rapist was spotted in Johannesburg.
It's humanly impossible for anybody to escape from that prison except through the help of perhaps individuals, and you had to get the body inside the prison, into the cell again, and you had to then get Mr. Bester out.
So yes, the story in the beginning of the video was Magudumana's second attempt, her successful attempt at springing Thabo Bester from prison.
It's also understood that she tried to secure the body of whoever died in the fire, claiming rights to it as Bester's supposed customary wife.
Not that he needed to get out. This guy was running multi-million rand businesses from inside that jail.
glitterati and the well-heeled even attended a launch of a supposed foundation of his, at which we understand he spoke virtually, and there he was wearing designer gear, a luxury watch, claiming to be overseas when in fact he was behind bars. So all of this begins even before the escape.
The other inmates who stay in Mangaung describe it as hell on earth.
A jail term that is lengthy and told they are going to Mangaung. That is insane. That's like telling somebody you are going to hell while you are still alive. Mangaung is really bad. It's cold. Your winter starts in February or March and it ends in October. Now in June, that's like you are in Alaska.
When you are new and you're a young inmate, right? You are going to be the wife to whoever's been here the longest. So get used to the idea. Inmates are being raped and nothing gets done about it.
So yeah, essentially Bester escapes from prison by using the old switcheroo trick, which is very, very Hollywood of him, I will not lie. DNA testing would later confirm this body as none other than die-hard Bloemfontein Celtic fan, Katlego Bereng.
Well, Katlego Bereng's family says they will not rest until they get justice for their son. His body was planted in Thabo Bester's cell as part of a elaborate escape from the Mangaung Correctional Centre.
He had gone missing in April 2022, a month before Bester escaped from jail. His family were obviously devastated.
Like lightning, you struck and you left evidence that no one else can erase. Knowing that those who betrayed you have been exposed. For now,
the kind of son Katlego was, saying that he never gave her any problems, he was always trying to make her proud, also saying that his death has really left a gaping hole in her heart. That was her only son.
SAPS would release this report claiming that Katlego passed away from substance abuse and then collapsing nearby a taxi rank, but the autopsy shows that he passed away due to blunt force trauma to the skull. And earlier this year, to the dismay of Bereng's family, all of the charges to the accused were dropped. So there will be no justice in terms of that case. He left behind a wife and 2 children. So someone in the comments in my last video asked me why discuss crime. I think the story of Katlego is a very, very good example why we need to discuss it, be it lightly or be it in a more serious tone as it is now. It's obviously something that is a reality in this country for now, and we can't hide away from it because it makes you feel uncomfortable that I'm categorizing the country. So after his daring escape from Mangaung prison, Thabo Bester and Dr. Nandipha Magudumana embark on this desperate bid to escape from South Africa. Zimbabwean authorities discover this 1.7 million rand black Mercedes S63 that the dysfunctional couple used as a getaway vehicle. A Zimbabwean man was actually found trying to switch plates from the South African plates to the yellow ones that they use in Zimbabwe. This expensive Mercedes that Magudumana rented out was left nearby the border, abandoned, and is collecting dust as we speak. Now, while he was trying to get as far away from South Africa as possible, the rumors started spreading. People started seeing Thabo Bester in hotels and stores. The streets were whispering, Thabo Bester is still alive. And this prompted the South African police, but much further, Interpol, to get involved. Former South African Minister of Police, Bheki Cele, tried to reassure the public that the police would recapture this conman, that he would be found on South African soil and he'd pay for his crimes. But this reporter was not buying that shit.
It's just that you got there only after a year after he has left.
We might find
a clue of where he is.
Not necessarily.
Is it true that he may be in Tanzania?
Not necessarily where he is. Yeah. Things that he might have done.
Ultimately, it was Tanzanian police who played the biggest role in the recapture of Thabo Bester. He was apprehended in Arusha, a city known as a strategic waypoint for organizations like the UN, and also a city known for its vast coffee plantations. Lots of good coffee comes from Arusha. And speaking about beans and plants, you've got to really deep the fact that Thabo Bester was 18 kilometers off the border of Kenya, meaning he was 1.5 hours away from Kenyan soil. Fortunately, the Tanzanian police were onto him and they crashed down on him before he could make his escape to Kenya. The Tanzanian police proved their efficiency by recapturing Thabo Bester and left South Africans with a lot of questions about our police force. After all, Bester did not spring himself from jail. He needed a lot of help from the people and the employees in that jail. So lots of questions naturally arise.
Confluence of coincidences that Bester was moved there on that particular date to that particular cell, right in the corner where, unless you're really paying attention, you will not see somebody walking up and down there. It's the only cell that's so far away that you can't see. And not to put too fine a point on it, and no pun intended, it's right next to the fire escape.
I think what's perplexing to me is that our police force somehow managed to act like this was a victory, like we came off looking good from this exchange that Interpol and the Tanzanian police had to get involved in. They kind of had to clean up our mess, in a sense.
I'm very confident. 7 minutes past 10 last night, the message did come. They were found, they were spotted by the people that are working with South Africa.
Latest developments in our Bonnie and Clyde saga that South Africans are obsessed about is the fact that the taxpayers have footed a bill of 1.4 million to charter the jet that went to go pick up our little criminals in Tanzania.
You can fly to Nairobi on Kenya Airways, and you can fly from there to Arusha. So it doesn't seem to me, surprise, surprise, that the South African authorities investigated other ways than spending 1.4 million rand on a chartered jet to bring Thabo Bester and Nandipha Magudumana back.
Anyway, Thabo Bester is currently being held in Kgosi Maputo CMAX prison, where hopefully he'll spend the rest of his life. Mind you, this guy was arrested in the first place for murdering and raping his ex-girlfriend. So about a month ago, Thabo Bester has this court hearing and he starts complaining about the clothes he's allowed to wear in Kgosi Maputo CMAX prison. Apparently, he's upset that he's not allowed to wear Louis Vuitton anymore. And he feels that this is unfair. So unfair that he actually petitioned the judge to give him the death penalty. He wants out of this planet because he can't stomach facing jail time for crimes that he committed.
Hands on my feet are ice at this point. I can barely feel my toes. This is not the way I want to proceed, Your Honor. If it means that this court can accept the petition and the public can sign it, and I can be put to rest, and we can put all this, because I am at peace. I know what I've done, I know what I've not.
Now, Bester might be Africa's most notorious con man, but on a human level, this guy just cannot take accountability for his own actions. There's always some greater reason or some sort of excuse as to why this man decided to off a bunch of people, or why he decided to con a bunch of people on Facebook or commit crimes against people. It's never his fault in the mind of Thabo Bester. We are the problem and he is infallible. This is the sort of thinking that you can find with a lot of wealthy and successful people. This lack of accountability for their own actions and the types of pain they can cause people, which gives them the freedom, of course, to use other people's lives as stepping stones for their own ambitions. Now, I can't formally diagnose the prison multimillionaire with anything, But with my own personal eyes and viewpoint, I would describe him as 2 words: a raging narcissist. The story that is not being told enough, and that we'll get into next week, is why this woman, Magudumana, wanted to be with someone who everyone else describes as such a vile person. And with that, this is Loy signing off. Peace.